After any big push, whether that's a product launch, a seasonal campaign, or end-of-year chaos, your organic content strategy probably needs a reset. And most marketers go full throttle during their big moment and then hit the next quarter with absolutely no plan. All the time is vibes and a vague sense of we should probably post something about this pop culture moment. I want to show you how we can rebuild an organic content foundation after any major campaign and set yourself up for sustained growth without burning out 3 weeks in. We'll use Q4 as an example, since it's one of the most intense periods for most brands, but you can apply this exact framework after any quarter. First of all, favorite thing, mining your last quarter's winners. Before you create anything new, look at what actually worked in your most recent quarter. Open your analytics and answer these questions. Which 3 posts got the most engagement? Can I identify the topics that drove the most saves and shares? Which content brought new people into your world? Look for patterns across formats and topics. And this is something that you might want to do with AI. You can use AI as your companion and talk through some of the posts that you see have the most engagement to help you mine and identify topics clearer. You don't have to, you can do it all on your own, but sometimes I know that it can be good to have a sounding board. Q4 is a great example of this. Maybe your behind the scenes reel during your holiday campaign got 3 times more engagement than your usual posts, or your gift guide carousel format crushed it, but promotional falls fell flat. My suggestion is to look at top evergreen content from the last quarter, and this is the one type of content you can bring back. And you can even test if it resonates again, because your audience might have changed, but also new people didn't see this the first time around, which means it might work again. Then I want you to analyze your funnel. Your last quarter was likely heavy on one specific theme or promotion, so I want to get back to the topics that actually build trust and authority across the board beyond that. So you will need to map out 3 to 5 content focuses for this quarter. I want to make sure that we go back to balancing content that attracts new people, like top funnel, content that warms up existing audiences in the middle, and content that converts them into your customers at the bottom of the funnel, for example. It's important to remind you as well that balancing might mean shifting the focus from attracting to converting. It's very normal for us to go in seasons, and the season of our marketing is something that we need to refine, but also accept and embrace. So before your next quarter, ask yourself, which season am I in? How is my funnel going to be balancing itself, and what is it going to look like? Is it 70% attract, 50% convert? This is something that I see again and again, especially when it comes to Q4. And why is that? Well, 80% of content for many marketers in November is buy now. And by December, your audience is exhausted. So it might be that if you're creating something that is campaign focused for the next quarter, and you're right after a big promotional season, you want to shift the way that you focus on your funnel and really build trust and potentially attract new people as you're giving yourself and them a little breather. And the third step in your audit, which might sound a bit of a counterproductive one that I just mentioned about, is taking a breather. I want to allow yourselves to have 1 or 2 choices. Maybe you re-engage through the evergreen content that I mentioned before that you identified, or you even spread out your content and take a breather. No matter what, I think it's important that we have the space for transitional content into a new quarter, so that we can allow ourselves to take the time to review, audit, and produce new content that is relevant to our goals right now. And this to me is almost a priority for Q4, because after that, we have weeks of last chance messaging, discounts, urgency, and we're all mentally exhausted. We don't want to be sold for a while. So this is actually a great chance to look at evergreen content and no strings attached content first. And finally, I always suggest to try and add 1 experiment for the next quarter. Yes, we've been mining for gold. We've been looking at what works and what doesn't. This is the right time for you to ask yourself, is there any format or content that I've seen from other people that could be worth exploring? Is there any topic that was surprising for me to see my audience loving and interacting with? Then I want you to run tests in the next quarter. And it doesn't have to be everything you do, but it might be the one little thing that you add to your plate that is different from what you were doing. If your audience already told you something that worked, that was a surprise to you, listen to them and try again. Finally, I want us to rebuild content testing rhythms. So after any high intense campaign period, most brands lose the tentative structure. Naturally, with a new quarter, things can become reactive instead of strategic. So you're just posting whatever feels right in the moment instead of learning with what works. So reestablishing a testing process at the start of each quarter is very important. Now that we know which experiments we want to run, these are the questions that I will ask myself. Which formats are we testing? Which topics are we going to be exploring? What hooks and angles are we trying? Then ask yourself, how much time am I going to spend testing versus doing what works? So how many pieces of content can you realistically create per week? And how many of these can be something new for your experiment? And finally, how often are we going to review performance of these posts? The truth is that we don't need to be consistent, but in the words of one of our incredible teachers, Liz Benham, we need to be persistent. Transitioning between quarters and building organic foundations with a combination of what works and also what we want to try is very powerful. So if you want to know what works, you got to try new things. And also go back to what your audience knows and love. So what is one content focus that you're bringing back this quarter? And what is one content focus that you're going to try that is completely new to you? Find these two answers to these questions, and you will be able to identify how you want to show up with your content and beyond.